I hadn't seen my extended family since the tragedy. I was expecting the visit to be somber, sad, maybe even awkward. But what I was not expecting was the pure horror I'd experience and the dark secrets that would come to the surface. It had been 4 years ever since their son, my cousin Mason, died on a camping trip when we were 12. We used to be inseparable. Every summer we'd run around their massive estate like it was our own private world. But after Mason's death, everything changed. They stopped showing up to family gatherings. No calls, no messages. It was like they disappeared. So when my parents told me I'd be spending a week at their place while they went on a trip, I didn't even know what to expect. I thought maybe it was a chance to reconnect, maybe even help them heal a bit. But the second I arrived, I knew something wasn't right. The house was beautiful, sure, but the rules they gave me? That's when things started to really feel off. When I pulled up to the house, it looked almost exactly how I remembered it. Massive, elegant, like something out of a magazine. White stone, tall windows, and that huge courtyard in the middle. For a second, I felt a weird wave of nostalgia. Me and Mason used to race our bikes up and down the driveway, dare each other to sneak out to the tree line at night. But the second the front door opened, that warmth evaporated. My aunt smiled politely, but it didn't reach her eyes. My uncle gave me a handshake that was quick and stiff, and my younger cousin waved from the hallway. I could have sworn she looked nervous, like I wasn't supposed to be there. They were kind, don't get me wrong, but there was this heaviness in the air, like everyone was waiting for something to happen and just pretending everything was normal. Although I had been there a long time ago, they didn't offer a tour, just walked me straight upstairs to my room. It was beautiful, almost too perfect. Clean white walls, a huge bed, a glass door that opened out to a walkway balcony overlooking the courtyard. I could see the trees lining the property in the distance, just shadows now in the fading light. For a second, it almost felt peaceful. Then came the rules. My uncle closed the door behind us. No one was smiling anymore. Curtains closed by 10:45, not 11, 10:45. Every night, no exceptions. No going outside after that time either, my aunt added. Her voice was calm but tight, like she was afraid I'd argue. I nodded, confused. Then he pointed down the hall. That room stays locked. Mason's old room. Don't go near it. Don't try the door. I don't care what you hear. You don't go in there. I didn't say anything. I think I just blinked. And this is the most important one, my aunt said. You don't let anyone inside the house, ever, no matter who it is, no matter what they say. If someone knocks or you hear a voice, you walk away. You don't open that door. Understand? I must have looked freaked out because my uncle suddenly tried to soften it with a chuckle that sounded completely fake. It's an old property, he said. Lots of wildlife, weirdos sometimes. Just better safe than sorry. I could tell they weren't being careful. They were scared. And for the first time, I wondered what the hell I had just walked into. Anyway, that first night around 2:30 in the morning, I got up to grab a glass of water. I think the old-style electric heating made my mouth dry or something. I crept downstairs, careful not to wake anyone. The hardwood floors creaked under every step, and for a moment, I felt like a kid again, sneaking into the kitchen for snacks during those long summers with Mason. After I drank, I started back up the stairs and stopped. There was a sound. It was faint, and if I wasn't trying to be so quiet, I probably wouldn't have noticed it at all. It sounded like scratching, not like a mouse in the walls or branches on the roof, more methodical, deliberate. I strained to listen closer and realized it was coming from inside the locked room at the end of the hall, Mason's room. I froze, just listened. It wasn't frantic, it was slow, rhythmic. I stood there waiting to see if it would stop, and eventually it did, kinda faded out. It did creep me out a bit, but this was a big house and it was super old. I was unfamiliar with it. For all I knew, these sounds were completely normal. But when I laid back down in bed, the next thing I heard definitely wasn't normal. Whistling, faint and uneven, like someone trying to remember a tune they hadn't heard in years. My heart started to bounce in my chest as I listened. Was it my uncle? But then the voice came. "Come outside. I've missed you." Barely above a whisper. For a second I thought maybe it was a TV or a radio, but something in particular made the hair on my arms stand up. It sounded like Mason. I shot up and looked through the glass window balcony into the courtyard below. At first I saw nothing but shadows and trees, and then I spotted something. Someone. At the far end of the courtyard, just before the tree line, it was my uncle. He was moving carefully, sneakily, crouched low, glancing over his shoulder, and there was something in his hand. To me it looked almost like a small cage with something inside, moving, like an animal of some kind. He reached the trees and knelt down. He was saying something quietly. At first I thought he was talking to whatever was in the cage, but then I saw his head tilt like he was listening and answering something. His voice was quiet, but he sounded afraid. I couldn't make out the words. Suddenly, he opened the cage and whatever small animal was inside shot out into the woods. For a second, nothing happened. Then came a scream. A horrible, wet, high-pitched scream like nothing I'd ever heard before. Then, silence. My uncle turned out and frantically scurried back toward the house. I didn't wait. I let the curtain fall and stepped away from the glass. My heart was pounding in my ears. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, the house felt kind of normal again. Sunlight poured through the tall windows. The kitchen smelled like coffee and toast. My aunt was flipping pancakes, and my uncle sat at the table reading something on his phone like nothing happened. I almost convinced myself I imagined it all. The scratching, the voice, whatever was in that cage. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, that none of this added up. I sat down at the table and tried to act casual. I didn't want to come across as paranoid, just curious. "So, do you guys ever talk about Mason?" The sound of the spatula hitting the pan was a little too sharp. My aunt didn't answer right away. My uncle looked up slowly, his face hard to read, but his eyes narrowed just slightly. The air in the room shifted. "Why would you ask that?" he said. Not angrily, just cold, like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees. I shrugged, trying to stay relaxed. "I don't know, just being here again. I remembered all the times we used to..." "We don't talk about that anymore," my aunt suddenly said, cutting me off. She didn't look at me when she said it. She just kept her back turned, flipping the pancake like nothing happened. I looked between the two of them. My uncle was still watching me, but now his expression had changed, like he was trying to figure out whether I knew something, whether I'd seen something. "Right," I said quietly. "Sorry." No one spoke after that. Just the ticking of the clock on the wall and the soft hiss of the batter in the pan. And even though the kitchen was full of light, I couldn't help but feel like I'd said something I shouldn't have. Like I'd opened a door that was supposed to stay shut. The second night was worse. I tried to tell myself that I was just tired, that I'd imagined the scratching, the voice, even the thing with the animal in the cage. But deep down I knew better. This place wasn't right. I laid in bed, staring at the ceiling again, trying to make sense of what had been happening. But just then, I heard it again. The same whistling. Low, off-key. Then, as if on cue, the voice. "Come outside. I've missed you." I didn't want to move. I didn't want to look. But I swear it sounded just like Mason. I slowly opened the curtain, just a crack at first. And there, standing on the edge of the courtyard where the trees began, was someone. Not moving, not blinking, just standing completely still in the dark. I looked closer. It was Mason. Or at least it looked like him. But his limbs were too long. His posture too straight. His skin looked pale and gaunt. His mouth was slightly open, just enough to show a few rotten teeth. His eyes were wrong. Too wide. Too dark. Like they didn't belong on his face. My brain tried to comprehend what was happening, to make sense of the horrifying sight in front of me. Nothing made sense. That couldn't be my cousin, could it? Why was he outside? Why did he look like that? Hell, why was he alive? I swear, every hair on my body stood up as I became completely numb with vibrating chills. My body didn't know how to handle the pure terror that I felt at that very moment, looking at that scene. Then, in an instant, he dropped to all fours and charged. Not running, crawling, like a spider, fast and unnatural. I yanked the curtain shut, slammed the glass door, locked it, and backed away so fast I nearly tripped. My heart was thudding so loud I swore the whole house could hear it. I crouched low, barely breathing, just listening. Silence. Then... I didn't want to look, but I couldn't help it. I inched towards the curtain and barely pulled it back. I came face to face with him. His face pressed against the glass, inches from mine. Mason, or whatever it was, grinning wide, too wide. Lips pulled back so far I could see the gums. Drool ran down his chin in thick strands. His eyes were locked on mine, unblinking, face pressed right up against the glass. Then it whispered, lips barely moving. "Open the door." And his expression jolted into a devious grin as if he was enjoying the look of shock on my face. The tapping stopped. For a few seconds, everything was still. Just my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then... a gunshot. Loud, sharp, and close. I jumped back from the door, breath caught in my throat. From outside I heard a scream, high-pitched, inhuman. Like a pig being slaughtered, but laced with something else. Something wet and unnatural. Then footsteps, fast, frantic, pounding across the balcony, until nothing. Just silence. I stayed frozen for what felt like forever, until finally I heard it. But this time it wasn't at the window. It was at my bedroom door. I stood there for a long moment, staring at it, heart racing. No voice this time, no whispering, just that soft knock. I reached out, hesitated, then slowly opened it. It was my aunt and uncle. They looked exhausted, pale. My uncle still held a rifle. My aunt didn't say anything, just nodded for me to follow. They led me downstairs in silence into the kitchen, the same one where I'd eaten the pancakes just that morning, pretending everything was normal. My aunt sat down at the table, my uncle set the rifle on the counter. My aunt poured the tea, even though none of us touched it. And then they told me. After Mason died, something came back with them. It wasn't a person, wasn't a ghost. They didn't know what it was exactly, only that it was wearing Mason's face. That it knew how he talked, how he moved, how to make you trust it. It showed up one night at their door, asking to come in. At first, they thought they were going insane, but the more they resisted, the more it came, night after night. Scratching, whispering, begging. They learned the rules the hard way. It can't come in unless it's invited. And it wants in. That's all it wants. Just to be let inside, so it can finish what it started. They made a deal. If they left it animals on the edge of the woods, it would stay out, at least for now. That's what my uncle was doing with the cage. A sick, temporary truce. But then I showed up, and it saw an opportunity. It used me, used our memories, our connection, the voice, the whistling, the face. It scratched at the outside wall of Mason's old room because that's where he used to sleep. It wanted me to follow the sound, open a door, crack a window, let it in. Just once, that's all it would take. It's clever, my aunt said quietly. It's patient, but it's always hungry. My uncle looked at me, eyes tired, haunted. This is our life now, he said, and now you know. So next time you hear something out there, no matter what it sounds like, you don't answer it, you don't speak to it, and you never open the door. Hey everyone, really hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun writing it. If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really means a lot. Thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.